All eyes are on the U.S. president tonight, and we don't just mean the Trump baby. Trump held an awkward news conference with the British Prime Minister, called his own interview fake news, and said immigration is bad for European culture. And all that before we learned 12 Russians were indicted for meddling in the 2016 election. This just days before Trump meets with Vladimir Putin. So tonight we're asking, is all of this just chaos, or is it all just the art of the deal?
Also tonight, a battle over who gets into this country and who pays. The federal immigration minister takes on Ontario's approach to asylum seekers, calling it un-Canadian. The provincial minister demands an apology. So what's really behind the war of words? This is The National.
We begin with the latest lightning bolt from the special counsel investigation by Robert Mueller, a 29-page indictment stuffed with damning details against 12 Russian operatives accused of meddling in the U.S. presidential campaign. They face charges like conspiracy to commit an offense against the U.S., money laundering, and identity theft. Here's Ellen Morrow on this legal bombshell and Donald Trump's reaction.
To Donald Trump, it's a hoax, but the Russia investigation's latest indictments detail a sophisticated campaign to meddle in American democracy, possibly directed from the Kremlin.
The defendants worked for 2 units of the main intelligence directorate of the Russian General Staff, known as the GRU. The units engaged in active cyber operations to interfere in the 2016 presidential election.
Those Russian operatives are accused of hacking the Clinton campaign and the Democratic National Committee, then posting the stolen documents online using fake personas. The indictment says the hackers were in touch with a person in regular contact with senior members of the Trump campaign, but that person may not have known they were talking to Russian intelligence officers.
There's no allegation in this indictment that any American citizen committed a crime. There's no allegation that the conspiracy changed the vote count or affected any election result.
I would call it the witch hunt. I would call it the rigged witch hunt.
President Trump was briefed on the indictments before making that statement this morning. He also looked ahead to his now awkwardly timed meeting with Vladimir Putin. The two are set to meet Monday in Helsinki.
I know you'll ask, will we be talking about meddling? But I will absolutely, firmly ask the question. And hopefully we'll have a very good relationship with Russia.
Democrats have called on him to cancel the summit.
If the president and his team are not willing to make the facts of this indictment a top priority of the meeting in Helsinki, then the summit should be canceled.
But as of now, it won't be. The White House plans to push ahead. It also released a statement on the indictments, seizing on the fact that no Americans were charged today. But it did not condemn Russia for the alleged meddling. Ellen Morrow, CBC News, Washington.
Trump may not want to point fingers at Russia. Others do so with a vengeance. Here's Donna Brazile, the former interim chair of the Democratic National Committee. Earlier this season, she spoke with our Paul Hunter about the damage done.
I think the active measures by the Russian government to hack into the DNC, to steal our data, to use our emails and weaponize them for a campaign of misinformation and propaganda, to deliberately attempt to hack into our voting system, our e-poll books or our voter registration system, there's no question it played a huge impact. Now that we know that that Twitter and Facebook and many of the other social media companies accepted rubles and, to purchase advertisement that sowed discord and created a lot of chaos, I do believe that it had a huge impact on the election.
So how did all this work? Well, think back to one of the most bizarre moments of the already odd U.S. election campaign.
I'm automatically attracted to beautiful. I just start kissing them.
Friday, October 7th, 2016, around 4 o'clock, the now infamous Access Hollywood tape is released.
Grab them by the I can do anything.
Not looking good for Donald Trump, but by 4:30 p.m., another revelation.
This is an electronic Watergate.
One designed to stick a dagger in Hillary Clinton's campaign.
We are talking about a slow leak every day, a new batch.
WikiLeaks dropped thousands of stolen emails from the chair of Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign, John Podesta. Within days, 20,000 emails would emerge. They were embarrassing. Details of Clinton's Wall Street speeches, inner workings, bickerings, biases of the Democratic campaign.
WikiLeaks, I love WikiLeaks.
So where'd WikiLeaks get the emails? That's where today's indictment comes in. It says on March 19, 2016, a senior lieutenant in the Russian military, Alexei Lukashev, sent an email to John Podesta, making it look like a security notice from Google, telling him to change his password. He fell for the ploy and followed the instructions, giving Lukashev and his conspirators a chance to lift 50,000 emails. The Russians went after more staffers. By June, they'd launched a site called DC Leaks, which claimed to come from American hacktivists who respect and appreciate freedom of speech. For a few months, that site and a few others started to drip out stolen DNC data and documents, sharing them with lobbyists and some reporters. According to the indictment, these Russian agents then gave the Podesta emails to WikiLeaks. Today's indictment has some people pointing out what could simply be a remarkable coincidence. Remember when Trump said this?
Russia, if you're listening, I hope you're able to find the 30,000 emails that are missing.
Well, that was July 27, 2016, and today's indictment says on or about that date, the Russian conspirators began trying after hours to spearfish email accounts at a domain used by Clinton's personal office. That was the first time they'd ever done that. So what will happen to the 12 Russian agents indicted today? Short answer, probably nothing, because they're not in the United States, and Russia has no extradition treaty with the U.S. As Rosenstein would know, today's indictment seemed more designed to name and shame and make it harder to travel since they'd risk capture outside Russia. Even so, the optics were not good for Trump during his high-profile British visit, and it would have done nothing to improve the poor opinion many Brits already have of the president. Trump did try to turn on the charm at the end, but as Susan Ormiston explains, for many, it was too little, too late.
They'd been waiting for this day, a carnival of resistance, to loudly show the visiting president that many Brits can't stand him, nor what he stands for.
Say it loud, say it clear! Donald Trump's not welcome here!
I'm brown, I'm Muslim, I'm a second-generation immigrant, so I couldn't not really be here today, given Trump, his policies, his general hatred for anything decent. And we lost the football, so what else would we do?
Refugees are welcome here!
The massive, peaceful parade snaked for hours along Regent Street before spilling into Trafalgar Square. Full up for hours, police turning back latecomers. Near Parliament, the scene was pure Disney, with the controversial baby scaling the sky.
Donald Trump says he felt unwelcome in the heart of London. These people don't care. They're proud of the fact they believe they ran him out of this city. They say his visit has confirmed what they already believe, that he is a two-faced, unreliable ally for Great Britain.
You don't come into somebody's country and then be rude about them. It's awful.
She was referencing last night. Just before a gala dinner in his honor, Donald Trump slagged the Prime Minister's Brexit plan. In an interview with The Sun, he threatened the U.S. might reject any trade deal after Britain breaks with Europe. But today, after midday meetings, what a walkback. The president fawned over Theresa May.
She's a tough negotiator. She's a very smart, very tough, very capable person. And I would much rather have her as my friend than my enemy. That I can tell you.
The Prime Minister hardly had to do anything as the White House scrambled to contain the diplomatic carnage.
So we start off with special. I would give our relationship with the UK, and now, especially after this 2 days with your Prime Minister, I would say the highest level of special. Now, am I allowed to go higher than that?
May attempted to reclaim success as she assured the country the U.S. would negotiate trade post-Brexit.
We agreed today that as the UK leaves the European Union, we will pursue an ambitious US-UK free trade agreement.
Whatever you do is okay with me. That's your decision. Whatever you're going to do is okay with us. Just make sure we can trade together. That's all that matters.
Capping off his chaotic 2 days, the Queen waited for more than 10 minutes before the Trumps arrived at Windsor Castle. Then, while inspecting the guard, the president seemed unaware he'd stepped in front of her instead of remaining a step behind. One can only imagine the Queen coolly surveying her 12th U.S. president and the roadshow he brought to Britain.
So, Susan, this trip and its chaotic overtones aren't over yet. What's next?
Well, the Trumps have now arrived in Scotland, where they'll spend the weekend at Donald Trump's luxury golf resort. Already protests have followed them. A paraglider tonight got within 100 meters of that resort with a banner, "Trump below par." And then more protests are planned for Scotland this weekend. White House officials tell us the president will be prepping for the next showcase summit Monday in Helsinki with President Vladimir Putin.
Okay, Susan, thanks very much. Now, as Susan said, today's meeting between Trump and May was awkward and a bit unpredictable, but it also seemed to match a strategy Trump revealed 30 years ago in his best-selling book, The Art of the Deal. It's right there on page 108. Sometimes part of making a deal is denigrating your competition, which Trump did several times this week when he was dismissive of Theresa May's ability to successfully negotiate Brexit.
I would have done it much differently. I actually told Theresa May how to do it, but she didn't agree with it. She didn't listen to me. No, I told her how to do it. That will be up to her to say. But I told her how to do it. She wanted to go a different route.
And before that, when he belittled Germany right in front of the rest of NATO.
But Germany is totally controlled by Russia, and you tell me if that's appropriate.
And as we've all seen, Trump is more than happy to denigrate anyone in his way, but that's not the only trick from The Art of the Deal still in the playbook. On page 58, he outlines another. The final key to the way I promote is bravado. That's why a little hyperbole never hurts, which he also did this week.
So I would say I give our relationship, in terms of grade, the highest level of special. Tremendous relationship with Germany.
You could be forgiven for wondering if part of Trump's strategy is to simply beat them down so he can build them up again on his terms, at least those he doesn't see as equals. Ruth Ben-Ghiat is writing a book on strongmen, which is her field of study. She joins us now from New York. So, Ruth, we all saw how Trump played his cards with his NATO allies this week, coming out on the attack, then later saying after he got what he wanted, he was praising them. With this next meeting with Putin, who he doesn't seem to attack, what's his play? What's he trying to do?
Trump may be the president of the United States of America, but he's not really there to uphold democracy. He and Putin share many anti-democratic values, and it seems a commitment to undermine NATO and undermine the whole architecture of collective security. So one of his agendas, seemingly to meet with Putin, is to see how they could push that forward.
So, but this meeting can't really possibly go ahead, I suppose, at this point without mentioning the indictments of the Russian military officers for meddling in the election. And Trump has said he'll talk about it. But what's your sense of how it's actually going to affect the conversation?
I don't think it will affect the conversation much, in part because Trump, like all strongmen, tries to discredit things as insurance ahead of time. And the entire time the Mueller investigation's been going on, he's referred to it as a witch hunt and biased. So he's prepared his base and many Americans, no matter what comes out about it, it's not going to be taken seriously. So in terms of how it's going to affect his dealing with Putin, I think not much.
What does he actually want out of this? In terms of Putin, what's Putin looking for from this meeting?
Well, Putin, what more glory for Putin than having the United States of America grovel at his feet? This is not a meeting of equals. This is Trump as a supplicant or a client and Putin as the patron. Putin is the only person Trump treats as an alpha male who we will never criticize among many, many politicians. Look what he said about Macron and Trudeau and countless others, Merkel. So Putin has the ego glorification, and he also has the satisfaction of knowing he has a very powerful ally in his will to undermine democracy.
Okay, Ruth Ben-Ghiat, thanks very much. We'll see what happens.
Thank you.
So mark the date. Ian will be looking forward to that meeting on Monday.
And many people, Adrian, will be watching to see how the two world leaders interact and the kinds of topics that Trump will weigh in on. He certainly didn't hold back in the UK, including making comments on European immigration.
I think that's very much hurt Germany. I think it's very much hurt other parts of Europe. And I know it's politically not necessarily correct to say that, but I'll say it, and I'll say it loud. And I think they better watch themselves, because you are changing culture, you are changing a lot of things, you're changing security.
Now, here in Canada, immigration is fueling divisions. As Tom Perry tells us, the fight involves provincial and federal counterparts.
It was not quite a show of unity. As immigration ministers lined up after their meeting, one was singled out for her absence.
It is unfortunate that the province of Ontario is not part of the communique. I see the minister is in the room but not joining us at the podium.
Lisa MacLeod, minister responsible for immigration in Premier Doug Ford's new Ontario government, walked out of the meeting. Ottawa and the province in a bitter feud over asylum seekers, the thousands of people who have surged into Canada, mostly at one unofficial crossing in Quebec. Ontario has called them illegal border crossers and called the whole situation a mess.
Ontario, sadly, has chosen the language of fear and division.
Today, an angry federal response.
It's divisive, it's fear-mongering, and it is not Canadian.
What I saw here today was an attempt to talk, him calling me un-Canadian, which I take great offense to, and I do hope he will apologize and reconsider his language. I also won't be bullied.
The new PC government in Ontario has quickly established itself as a foil to Justin Trudeau's federal Liberals. Ontario blames Ottawa for the influx of asylum seekers and the demand they've placed on housing and social services. Ottawa has pledged $50 million in assistance, $11 million of that for Ontario. The province says that's not nearly enough.
I'm simply asking them to fix the problems that they have created with their federal policies.
As Ontario and Ottawa argue, the federal government says the number of people coming into Canada at irregular border crossings is on the decline. Just over 1,200 people sought asylum in June, about half as many as in April. But even as the numbers drop, relations between the federal and Ontario governments appear to be sinking. Tom Perry, CBC News, Ottawa.
So as Tom mentioned, last month saw the lowest number of so-called irregular border crossers entering Canada in about a year, more than a 50% decrease from the more than 2,500 who were intercepted in April. We're keeping track of some developing stories tonight. CBC News has learned the Prime Minister plans to reshuffle his cabinet next week. A source says the changes will be announced Wednesday. No word yet on who will be reassigned, but Trudeau does have one vacancy to fill, the post of Minister of Sport and Persons with Disabilities. More than 200 firefighters responded to a large fire at Bell Media Tower in downtown Montreal this evening. 2 people who were working on the roof were injured. They're in hospital. Smoke billowed from the building, filling the city's downtown area with smoke. Another building attached to the Bell Tower also had to be evacuated. Officials say the fire is under control, though not completely out. Just blocks away, crews responded to another large fire at the McGill campus. The university says that fire appears to be out, but is asking people to avoid the area until further notice.
So here's what else we're working on tonight on The National. Meet the Canadian banned from the U.S. for life for investing in a legal pot company.
Why playing one sport year-round can actually be bad for your child's health.
And ever get a letter in your lunchbox from mom? Well, one family takes it to the next level in our moment of the day.
It said, Jeff and Christy, call your mom. And they all said, Christy and Jeff, call your mom. I guess she was just calling random strangers.
We're hearing of an increasing number of Canadians being denied entry to the United States, even being banned for life, all because of their association with legal cannabis. One BC businessman says he's no longer allowed to cross the border merely because he invests in American cannabis companies. We sent the CBC's Laura Lynch to find out what's behind this apparent crackdown.
Entering the U.S. at this crossing south of Vancouver used to be routine for venture capitalist Sam Znaimer until he tried it in May of this year.
Clearly, there was some kind of alert out associated with my name.
Znaimer says he was interrogated for 4 hours entirely about his investments in American cannabis companies. Then he was slapped with a ban on entering the U.S. for the rest of his life.
I was amazed that someone as peripherally involved as I was could be deemed to be aiding and abetting.
Marijuana is legal in several U.S. states, including Washington state, but the border is controlled by federal agents, and marijuana is still illegal under national law. One U.S. attorney says he's seeing more and more cases of Canadians facing border problems for even remote connections to American pot enterprises.
You know, selling a machine, a legal machine from Canada to a U.S. customer, owning property in the United States that has a tenant who's in the cannabis industry.
This former BC cabinet minister turned marijuana entrepreneur is hoping Ottawa will persuade the U.S. to change the practice.
The ability to do our business is going to be severely impaired if we cannot cross that border without these concerns.
It doesn't sound like that's going to happen anytime soon.
I would urge Canadians who are planning to travel to the United States to update themselves on that government's position on cannabis.
Znaimer knew the rules, knew it would be a problem to admit to ever smoking pot, but that was never an issue for the officers questioning him.
No, they never asked that, and believe me, I've thought about that over time.
It's all caused Znaimer to re-examine his American marijuana investments, and he's warning other Canadians to do the same. He believes that's ultimately what the anti-drug U.S. government wants, to choke off Canadian investment in American companies as a means to forcing them out of business altogether. Laura Lynch, CBC News, Vancouver.
If you travel to the United States and for whatever reason you're given a lifetime ban, you can apply for a waiver. That's what Sam Znaimer, who we met in Laura's story, plans to do. But it's only temporary and it doesn't come cheap. It costs $585 US to apply, and the process can take up to a year. If approved, the waiver is valid for up to 5 years. If the application is rejected, you don't get that money back. If you try again, you have to pay the same amount each time. And here's something worth noting. Technically, under US law, you could argue Prime Minister Justin Trudeau might have an issue trying to enter the United States after he leaves office. That's because he admitted publicly to smoking marijuana when he was first elected as an MP in 2008.
Still ahead on The National, as you get ready to fire up the barbecue this weekend, consider your condiments. We take a look at why tariffs could have helped Canada's mustard industry.
And does practice always make perfect? Maybe not. By playing one sport year-round could be bad, really bad, for kids.
Between approximately the age of 8 and 16, there is a lot of growth that goes on, and during that time period, the areas of skeletal growth are under a lot of pressure and are quite sensitive. And so disrupting them or putting them through too much strain can actually change skeletal development itself.
We've seen opposition to Canada's free trade agreement with the European Union, CETA, before, but today, Italy's Deputy Prime Minister said Rome will not ratify it. The issue is protected goods like Parmesan cheese. Italy has almost 300 such products, but only about 40 have been recognized by Canada. The bigger trade trouble, of course, is the current state of the relationship with the U.S., and in that conflict, it's ketchup getting a lot of attention. As Olivia Stefanovic explains, though, its condiment cousin, mustard, is actually getting a break.
A sea of yellow stretches beyond the horizon on Curtis Dennington's farm.
This is a more mature crop, looks like here.
His plants are getting close to harvest. The pods full of seed used to make mustard.
This is our most profitable crop.
Canada is the world's largest producer of mustard seed, thanks to ideal growing conditions in the prairies. Last year, $120 million was sent abroad. More than half went to the U.S. for processing. But that trade relationship and Dennington's livelihood was recently threatened when American-made mustard showed up on Canada's proposed list of retaliatory tariffs.
They'd be putting a tariff on a mustard industry that's integrated across all of North America.
The Canadian Special Crops Association lobbied the federal government to take the condiment off the hit list, fearing the U.S. could counterattack with a tariff on Canadian mustard seed exports, driving down prices for farmers, forcing shoppers to pay more.
It would get passed on to either the producer or to the end-use consumer.
Those concerns appear to be heard. Mustard was dropped from the final retaliatory tariff list.
I think it's a great thing, because if there was a retaliation tariff put on the raw seed that we export, it would really mess up our markets.
This particular one is one of our more unusual mustards.
But Canadian mustard producers have a different view.
To get that stuff that comes in a little yellow squeeze bottle and tax it, it would be good for me.
Although there's no way of knowing what could happen next to the industry, so affected by the decisions made south of the border, for now, farmers are breathing a sigh of relief that the condiment is no longer a trade war target. Olivia Stefanovich, CBC News, Stewart Valley, Saskatchewan.
We're watching some developing stories tonight, including the latest hit to Ivanka Trump's clothing line. The Bay has joined the list of retailers to drop the brand. The company announcing today its stores are phasing out the clothing line, citing low sales. Ivanka Trump products have been targeted by boycott campaigns for some time now, but the Bay didn't say whether that factored in its decision. And the latest on the controversy involving actor Scarlett Johansson. The star has now dropped out of a role in which she was going to play a transgender man. The decision to cast her sparked backlash from the LGBTQ community. Johansson says she's learned a lot in the past few days and says she understands why many believe the role should be portrayed by a transgender person. As the boys saved from a cave in Thailand continue their recovery, we're hearing a bit about what might be in store for them next. The father of one of the boys says the 12 boys and their coach will enter the monkhood for a short time to pay tribute to the Navy SEAL who died trying to save them. After 18 days inside the cave, the boys were rescued this week by a team of divers from around the world. A tennis match turned marathon. After 6.5 hours, South Africa's Kevin Anderson beat American John Isner. The match made Wimbledon history. It became the longest ever semifinal of the tournament and the third longest in tennis history. Isner must like those long matches. In 2010, he competed in the longest match of all time. That one went over 11 hours. Anderson, meanwhile, faces either Novak Djokovic or Rafael Nadal in Sunday's final. It is the rallying cry of summer. Let them play. Your child may have a passion and a talent for one activity, but slow down. Even hockey legend Bobby Orr believes variety is the spice of sport. Play other sports, have other coaches, he said. Hang around other kids, other parents. I think that's healthy. And there is growing medical evidence to back him up. The CBC's Christine Birak explains.
Let's go.
Even in sweltering heat, hockey doesn't take a break.
And respecting to get better for the season, you know. Always want to be one step ahead with the opponent.
Practice makes perfect, right? Well, not always. When it comes to children in sports, mounting evidence shows playing one sport year-round can do more harm than good, psychologically and physically.
First of all, we're noticing that the number of pediatric sports injuries has just exploded over the last several decades as we've seen organized sports and competitive sport participation in the young accelerate.
It's called sports specialization, and it's happening in every major game. Kids as young as 6 playing a single sport for more than 8 months a year. Some think it's how you build a star player, but Dr. Sasha Carson says the trend is associated with increasing rates of burnout, sports withdrawal, and overuse injuries that can be life-altering.
Roughly between approximately the age of 8 and 16, there is a lot of growth that goes on, and during that time period, the areas of skeletal growth are under a lot of pressure and are quite sensitive. And so disrupting them or putting them through too much strain can actually change skeletal development itself.
6 years old and be that light.
Hockey was Connor Coase's life. Regular season games, practices, tournaments. Scouts later pushed him into spring hockey and training camps.
I started playing competitive, so it would be 4, 5, sometimes 6 times a week.
Without warning, Connor's hip popped during a game. He was carried off the ice and rushed to hospital by his mother.
You know, it's pretty terrifying. Sorry, it's hard because, you know, it's not why you take him to hockey.
At 15, Connor needed surgery on both of his hips due to repetitive strain injuries. He'll never play hockey competitively again.
Made me a better striker.
A better pitcher.
While the impacts of specialization may come as a surprise to some parents, sports organizations are well aware of the research, even sponsoring public service announcements.
So change it up.
Playing
more sports
will only make you better.
Better.
But while they're urging kids to play more than one sport and diversify their skills and muscle use, youth leagues are encouraging families to invest in summer camps and extra training.
It's definitely a conflict of interest for me, but you know, the majority of kids that we get want to be here in the summer and participate in a full-day camp.
Connor enjoyed the added ice time, but his mother wonders if it was worth it.
Would I have done things differently? Probably, knowing what consequence Connor's facing now. He is only 16 and he doesn't, we really don't know what the long-term effects is of all his injuries, you know, later on when he's 50 or 60.
Experts say specialization makes more sense for self-driven athletes in their late teens. But at this age, the goal is simple. Have fun. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
Still more to come on The National, including our moment. What happens when a couple embarks on a cross-country move and then finds messages from home all along the way?
It was like 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock, and like we were checking in and the lady passes over a note that says, "Jeff and Christy, call your mom." And we thought, oh, all right.
But first, a tiny village in Greenland is being menaced by a giant new neighbor. An iceberg the size of a mountain is looming over it. Icebergs are not uncommon off Greenland, but this one's a little different. It drifted in a few days ago and is so big it's grounded on the seafloor, sitting in its shadow the 180 residents of Inarsui. It's an island community in the northwest, about 1,000 kilometers north of the capital. Carl Peterson chairs the local council.
People are afraid and are okay for the time being. We are making plans for people with disabilities, how they could be evacuated.
On Tuesday, a small section of the iceberg collapsed. That created some large waves. Here's the concern. A bigger breakup, or if the iceberg rolls over, would create a tsunami. It could flood the community's power plant, or worse, wash away the whole town. Earlier today, people living closest to the shore were moved to higher ground, and a ship from Denmark's Royal Navy is on standby. The hope is a strong wind will dislodge the iceberg and move it away. But right now, the forecast only calling for rain. Would you like to share that story? You can do that from our Instagram feed, where you can always find more on our stories and earlier in the day at CBC The National.
Last year, the Canadian government made a special commitment to resettle some 1,200 people who had survived the oppression and terror of ISIS, the majority being Yazidi women and children. The Yazidis are a religious minority based mainly in northern Iraq. They were first targeted by ISIS militants in August of 2014, subjected to slaughter, sexual slavery, and other crimes. The UN said what happened to them amounted to genocide. Tonight on The National, we bring you the story of one survivor. Her name is Dilveen, and she was just 11 years old when she was taken captive by ISIS. The story of her escape is told by Toronto filmmaker Daniel Rohr in this CBC short doc.
ناویم دلوینا و عمري از باب خراجي شغلي موزت شو ما مدرسة خوش اسنانا كي الكندا العيشة يزدينا وأم زلمينا اللي أكيد كان بابي में शुक्ले फेक हीट गारान यही मानीन बातें न थे लामचना बात वहाँ का हाथ बाय माले साक्तिया कुआन था तमाल आज चुमा मदरसा नावी हवाना हमारा खिफाम जेरा था नावी दलाल وأم بي نا أزيد شو ما دراك بيونا أو بيم شو درا أزوها والد خوام متونا ما شرازات كرينو تبسو أو ما لعبك شخلات برنو شغلة هيش نقردين بابي موان ما عسنا قربو بس الساعة شاشي سبهيبو عسا تلقاو عنها أمسي خوشكنو وأمسي برانا داعشات أم قردنو أم بين الله من البيرا مرتين وهوالي من البيرا مرتين ها من درسي داعش دانا ما هكيو 5000 نوشه تيا بيرا में कुछ माजूम धाबे खाओ दाना ما أم فيديو दाना أم चुना ما بابي ما هم برنا بار كوبرية داكري همش كا لما برشينن بابي مشوان جدا كرنو برنا بار كوبرية بابي مدور هيران و ناوي هر دوكا خدربو چهار الباس صاربون چهار پنجل بعمل التالية دابون دين كير اللز دابون التاشتي هناك بانير تانين قنها زاروانات خوان بهنو أو جيتات وشيفا عجيب برنج بو وهيش هم دين دوقو أو نيف دا هر سيا هر چارا جارنا سموناكو هجيشنا مجبو الويدري عادر باتي موبايل عشوانا تلفون کرنو کامیرو فت کرن و واسینا के پیشید करने टे खिजे इबदिले वान बाते इबदिलेन तेजा गोम चुख गो वजल गोम दारे जोरे का शफदان دري بانتر قصاندن و دسته دوان حلان ما ينوازن مانا خوارم ازار واره هلی جویدارا دیگو گو ازی چون بری من گوتا خوش سه خوش کردی گو از باب خورجی شغلی موزی چوما مدرسه خوش بابم شوان جدا کرنو برنا بر کبریه تو حوالت خوام متونا وجل كيدو هن الفرق كربونو أفدرات دران ديبو إيمازن بو حكم السؤال الواسي هي كربانته المالدان في جماعة أمبرنت البنات أو جي ده دقاش شو تلقى سابا دوربو وان أمبرن شيبا مقهندرم موسل قاعة بجون بو چاقم چونه دیده داعش کاته دید و شیوا عجیب برنج بو و هیچ هم دین دوقو عود نیفده از برما با تختور او جکی داعش بو او داعش بو مگوده تزب شیف نانوهم أساتما مال بوشيف جنا داعش شيف تيكربون شيف تيكربون مع خوار وأساتم هابت شاي مقوديون مگو ازي چمچيكا من هيلا جناوي رابي برن وخوارن از ابتنی در کدوم وجا هر 6 ساعت هم الخواهد بوم ما تشتاق قرآنانی بو ما حتی آب کناری بو پریسکت بارانی ما هم تکا ما دفع خواست کرن حتی نکی آب کافی دفع مادا و گول کک بو ما دستت خواست کرن ما مشته و جهانک بخواد وين قريبة بتلفون داما جوها جوب يدخل بيون جوب يجنوارن بيشام مقودا خالقو قالك يا زاب كيفو مساعد ما كندا دا هجي مساعدة ما كرو أمجي مساعدة خوبكانو أم مساعدة إيزت يعني في ترسي مدفي أسهاتا مدفي تعبو زعمتا خشبيرنا كم بشتي أفي بسلام هاتي أزي خقاوي تركم والله أسكار مدافع وان بكم بس مدافعيش همج قالت كم هر السر بلين بان نسري وان دانا
Let's watch this.
Okay, listen. One episode, and then we go to dessert.
I heard really good things about it.
Put a bird on it. Quickly.
Yeah! Time of my life!
When Christy and her boyfriend Jeffrey packed up their belongings to move from Edmonton to Thunder Bay, they decided to make a road trip out of it. But little did they know, strangers from across the country were waiting for them with signs, all with a simple message, "Call Mom." Their story is our moment of the day.
It's this huge orange sign. And I'm like, Jeff, how did we miss this sign? Before we left, she was asking us like what highway we were gonna take and stuff.
She kept messaging us every now and then saying like, hey, are you gonna stop in this town?
We actually stayed in Portage la Prairie, and it was like 2:30 in the morning, 3 o'clock, and like we were checking in and the lady passes over a note that says, Jeff and Christy, call your mom. And we thought, oh, all right. And the lady's like, you wouldn't understand. It's a mom thing. You'll understand when you're a mom.
It's definitely something you expect her mom to do because she's, you know, she likes doing all these little things to, you know, brighten people's day. It was something nice to see along the trip once we actually ran into them.
Jeff thought my mom had called in all her
favors
across the country to get these messages, but I guess she was just calling random strangers.
Exactly. So Mom Suzanne from Sparwood, BC sounds like a bit of a card because it does sound like she was cold calling people and saying, hey, can you do me a favor? And I guess there were like something like 7 or 8 signs along the way, and they missed a few of them, but she kept calling and where did you go? And then she would send them the sign or a picture of a sign just to sort of hammer the point home.
See, I'm too lazy to do that. What I do, one of my sons right now is on this big epic road trip. I spy on him using Find My iPhone. That's all I do.
I have a lot to say about that. It's a bit disturbing, but...
And my favorite part of this, we just have seconds left, is that they were supposed to stop at the Lloydminster Visitors Center. Their mom wanted them to see the sign there. They didn't bother. They just drove through. Kids these days. That is the National for Friday the 13th. Good night.
Good night.